Callies. Okay, you guys, welcome back. I'm gonna give this another shot. I'm really bummed when we have these technical glitches. The original scheduled video for this week, I had to start again. I'm so bummed. A bunch of you liked it. You were ready to go. It looks like the image is still a little pixelated, but what I've found is the beginning can often be pixelated. I don't know if it's a processing thing or a starting up thing. And then hopefully a few minutes into this video, we start to get a clear image. For everybody watching the playback, I will put in timestamps. So if you're here for gluten-free travel tips, or if you're here for going through the airport with type 1 diabetes, I will put timestamps for those particular sections. I will try to stay focused. And if you guys are here live, feel free to chat. This is a live video. This is loose. This is long. It's going to be fun. And hopefully you'll be able to see me in like a few minutes, because I can see right here the image is very pixelated. I did test the internet at this particular location this morning. It worked great. I don't know if it's my phone. I don't know if maybe now my phone and the internet, that I have a few videos processing from the earlier lives that I tested. I don't know, you guys. I don't know why this works sometimes and doesn't other times. It's usually Wi-Fi combined with my phone, which is out of data usage. So I'm gonna ramble for a little bit longer. I'm gonna give people a chance to find this. There were a few of you in the last live that I had to cancel. So I'm just gonna give you guys a minute. I'm gonna ramble. There was something, you know, just about the connectivity issues. And also let me check the sound. Okay, the sound's working as far as I can tell. Sometimes I watch the playback and these there's like stuttering. It's just kind of, live videos are tricky. I love them so much. I love that I can connect with you guys in the moment. My editing process delays me quite a bit because I do love to edit. So I love these live videos because I can talk to you in real time. It is Tuesday for all of us. Well, unless you're on the other side of the world. Hi, Mom. Maybe it's Wednesday. We're dealing with some connectivity issues, so I'm just gonna ramble until hopefully the image gets a little bit clearer on your end. I was just gonna say, while I'm rambling and waiting for people to show up, I was so bummed because last week I was with my cousin Nikki at Disneyland for the first time since they reopened. And you guys, I had all these plans to go live. We were gonna do live videos and have so much fun with you. And I had to, oh, it looks good. Yay. Oh, good. It's pixelated here for me. But if Nikki and my mom says it looks good, that makes me so happy, because I was just sharing with you guys that last week at Disneyland, I had all these plans to go live. We were gonna take you around Disneyland and do the whole thing. And I ran out of data usage that day and for the entire month. And I think it's because I was at Walt Disney World and everything is on the app, you guys. Like, the app is how you do all things. And even if they have Wi-Fi, there's lots of time while you're traveling where I'm sure you're using your data usage. A lot of these apps require both Wi-Fi and data. For example, this app that I'm using right now to live stream, the YouTube app, I think it also wants some of my data. So if this is a little bit underperforming, technically it might be that I'm out of data usage until the end of May. So we'll just cross our fingers and hope for the best. Thank you to everyone that popped in. I see you. And thanks for all the thumbs up. You all gave me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. It really helps. So thank you. So I'm just going to get into this. We learned so much traveling to Walt Disney World as a family. First off, we had air travel from LA all the way to Orlando. It was our first time flying as a family for over 2 years. So we learned a lot doing that. And of course, air travel looks very different than it did a couple years ago. So if I have time, I'll touch upon that if you guys have questions about air travel right now. And then of course, Walt Disney World, it was our first family trip at Walt Disney World. We learned so much. Honestly, we barely scratched the surface. We were there for 6 days and we were in the parks for 5. It was kind of a perfect amount of time because we were all exhausted. I kid you not, I had blisters in between my toes. Like, who gets blisters? Like, I didn't know that was a place you could get blisters. But on the last day, that was a thing. So I think we were all ready to rest because we went hard. We woke up very early in the morning. And for those of you that know, with the time difference, if you wake up at 6 a.m. in Orlando, if you're from California, that feels like 3 a.m. So we pushed ourselves. We would wake up really early, get to the parks, and then we closed it down. There were some nights we were coming back so late to our hotel, we didn't know if we'd be able to find food or even get back because a lot of the transportation ends at the end of the night. In fact, I want to make a little note so I talk to you guys about that because that's something, if you are here for like tips, that is definitely something you're going to want to know about. So for everyone watching the playback, there will be timestamps. I'm traveling right now. I'm guessing it will be by Friday or Saturday of this week. I will put timestamps. I will try to do it sooner, but just with travel and everything, I will put timestamps in this video. So if you want to skip right to, oh my gosh, how do you get home to your resort from the parks at the end of the day? I'll be talking a little bit about that. So, what happened? I'm gonna put what happens. I'm making notes in the body of the description so you can look for stuff there. When parks close, is there food? Because if you're staying at the resort, you're kind of, it's really, unless you have a car, it's tricky to get off the resort for food. So I will talk about the latest that you can eat too, as far as I know when I was there. Nikki says, hi, Susan. Okay, so is there food after the parks close? And again, I don't know all of the answers. I just scratched the surface, so I'm just gonna talk on my experience. And we were there at the beginning of May, so things change. Things change at both Disneyland Resort, Walt Disney World, and I imagine all the Disney parks at any given day. So, you know, if you have like a dietary concern or a disability concern and you really need to know, your best bet is to call the Disneyland guest services number for all things. It's a pain, I know, but once you get through, the cast members are so lovely. They're so helpful. Honestly, I did not have one bad experience on that hotline, and you call that line for everything. Nikki knows. You can't call your resort. You can't call a restaurant. You call that number, and then they help you with everything that they can. So that's unique about Walt Disney World Resort is like my husband had a hard time adjusting to that. He's like, can't we just call the hotel? I'm like, no, you can't just call the hotel. You call the Disney Destination Service line and they help you with everything. And then once you're there, you can walk to the front desk. You can talk to them. The cast members at the hotel are very, very helpful, but you can't just call them from your room. So that's unique about Walt Disney World. So if that's new to you, it takes a little adjusting, but we were able to do everything we needed to do and we got all of our questions answered. I probably called that number about, oh, here, Nikki has the number, so it's in the comments. And because she put it in the comments, I'll put it in the description. Thank you, Nikki. I called that line for our trip about 3 times. And just to let you know, we planned this trip all the way back, I think like end of January, beginning of February. So we did plan it quite in advance. And I called the number about 3 times about this particular trip. So not crazy, but I will get into more about that and planning your trip if you have dietary stuff going on, because you can plan ahead if you so wish to plan ahead. Some of us, like in my family, we don't love over planning because we feel like it'll be restricting when we're there. We want to kind of just go with the flow of the moment. We prioritize rides. So there were many days where we just did a lot of rides and then we're like, oh yeah, dinner. So it depends on what your priorities are. You can plan as much as you want or as little as you want. And there are like consequences to both, obviously. Let me just put that number in the description box and then we'll get started. And yeah. And I'm just really hoping that whoever kind of needed this video or was wanting to know more about traveling, maybe with type 1 diabetes or celiac or gluten-free or traveling to Walt Disney World, I hope this video finds you guys. I know this isn't one of my more trendy topics, talking about like traveling with a disability, but I feel like the least I can do as a mother to a little one that has both type 1 and celiac, the least I can do, you guys, is spread some awareness, because that when you're living with a disability, just like being somewhere where people get you and get what you're going through is everything. Like just that simple adjustment, it makes a world of difference. At one point, my son, who's 8, Declan, he said to a cast member, and I'm getting chills right now, you guys. He said to a cast member, I love it here. When we say Raleigh has type 1 diabetes or Raleigh has celiac disease, everybody knows what we're talking about. It's so great. Because when we go to restaurants in our day-to-day life, sometimes people, most of the time, people have no idea what we're talking about when we say she has celiac disease. So just that simple, it's not simple because Disney has worked really hard over the past 35 years to inform their cast members about not just people living with type 1 diabetes or celiac, but all kinds of disabilities. They really do train their cast members to understand those different disabilities. So there has been a real effort for many, many years. But for us experiencing it, it was everything. So Nikki just dropped another phone number. Is that the local Walt Disney World number? Because I don't recognize the 407 non-reservation questions. Okay, Nikki is my Disney resident expert, and she has been amazing helping me like just with all the details. And so thank you for those numbers. A lot of people, I don't know if you'll see the phone numbers in the playback, because sometimes the chats don't show up in the playback. So let me just drop those phone numbers into the description really quick, and then wait, I can keep that playing, and then we can move forward. So just hold on a second. So the Disneyland number, oh, I see, the Anaheim number is the 714, which I feel like I might have also called for Walt Disney World. I feel like I just kept calling the same number. So I think you can call either the 407, I think 714 is the main line, and then she's saying non-reservation questions, like maybe something about a shop or a restaurant or some other general question. It looks like she's saying they have the 407. There's a couple numbers here, so I'm just gonna attempt to transcribe them all. Let's see, can I copy? Ooh, yeah, I can. Okay, great. And then I'll straighten out the description later. It's gonna be kind of a little bit just my random notes, and then I'll go back and make it pretty sometime this week. You guys, I've barely started editing this week's Thursday video, so wish me luck. It's Epcot, and it's like hours and hours of video footage that I need to get through. My mom knows because I keep telling her about it. I'm staying with my mom, and one of her friends opened up their home to me to do this live video, so thank you. And okay, so those numbers are now in the description, and we'll go back through and make it a little more pretty and explain it a little bit more. The second 407 is Disney World Disability. Okay, great. And merchandise has their own number for both parks. Okay, so there are a few numbers. The number I believe I called several times was the 714, the Disney Destinations number. I believe that's the number I had in my phone. So, and I'm sure if you call any of these numbers, the cast member can direct you to the number that is best for you. My mom's like, yes. Okay, so let's just start at the beginning. Packing for my family was so stressful, and I can imagine that packing for a big trip, any big trip, if you're kind of the person in charge of more than just yourself, can be stressful. My husband gets stressed about packing, and he only packs himself. So I get that there can be a lot of stress around packing. I know that once we're out the door, I feel like I'm finally on vacation. I started packing for this trip about 3-4 days before, which is unusual for me. I'm kind of a last minute packer. Like I usually do about 3 to 5 hours of packing before we say leave on like a trip up to my family ranch. Like it's a 5-hour drive. I pack for about 3 to 5 hours. Now I'm not packing the entire time. I'm the type of person that needs to like take out the trash, water the plants. Like I do all the house stuff too. So that is part of the packing process for me. I don't know about you, but that's just kind of how I do it. I like to come back to a tidy house. It's not always what happens, but that's what I try to make happen. But as far as packing for Walt Disney World and specifically for Raleigh, it was stressful because of course we're flying and we like to fly on a budget. So we only checked one bag and I think we packed 3 carry-on size suitcases for a family of 4. So we carry a lot of stuff on the plane. So that also makes it really stressful because if you know what it's like to go through security with type 1 diabetes and like we have water and apple juice and candy and needles and like all these things that they end up having to search. We go through security with a ton of luggage. And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, would it just be worth it to pay the extra $150 and just check everything? But we always decide, okay, it's a real pain. It takes about an hour to get through security, but we save that money and we can spend it somewhere else on our trip. So we kind of are a glutton for punishment. We like to save money and that's how we do it. So if you're like us, my heart goes out to you because it is stressful. So I'm trying to pack a family of 3 plus my husband. He did his own packing, so I don't pack him. So my kids and myself, I packed us into, I guess it was 2 suitcases, 2 carry-on size suitcases because our full-size suitcase broke. So that was my bad. I didn't go and buy a new suitcase. In retrospect, if I'm gonna check a bag, I really would like it to be a full-size bag because I want to get my money's worth. But we checked, Uncle Mike lended us like a travel size and we checked that. So as far as that's concerned, I'm really glad I packed. Okay, so when you're traveling to type 1, you have to pack needles, test strips. My daughter has a Dexcom, so I always pack an extra receiver. And if I needed extra transmitter, I bring that. I didn't have an extra one, so we just had the one transmitter. You've got to have her insulin. I use the Frio bags, which I find to be like really great for keeping the insulin at temperature during the trip. So I had 2 Frio bags. I brought backup. I brought a backup Lantus, which is her 24-hour coverage, and a backup Humalog. So that way, even though they last for 20 days, if one accidentally gets exposed to heat or cold and expires, I had a backup. Because if you're traveling with type 1, what you don't want to do is have to go to a drugstore and refill your prescriptions, and you don't want to have to go to the hospital. So those are the 2 places that you're like, hi from German, Miro, hi. So today I'm just like talking about traveling with type 1 diabetes and celiac disease because my daughter Raleigh, who's 5, has both. And I know not everybody, this might like make some of my viewers' eyes glaze over, but honestly, I feel like if I just reach a few people, it's totally worth it. So I hope you guys enjoy. Feel free to comment, or if you have questions about our Walt Disney World trip, feel free to comment about that too. So I was just saying I travel with backup insulin for her. And then here's where it gets tricky packing for the airport. We have to bring apple juice and needles, and I always bring water because if she needs to flush ketones, which is something, so if you get really high blood glucose levels, you need to drink a lot of water. So I do bring water through security. So that is tricky because if you know about airport security, you can't bring liquids. So I did learn a few things about how to make this easier. So in the past, when we flew, we go through security, they see our apple juices, they see our waters, they see our needles, and they pull me aside. They ask me about these items. I tell them my daughter has type 1 diabetes, and it is her medical supplies, because she has a medical condition where she needs these supplies at all times. And then they test my fingers for chemicals like explosives, because I'm traveling with liquids. And we have to wait while they run those tests. It doesn't take very long. It takes, I'd say, like 10 to 20 minutes, depending. And then they have to pat me down. So they pat my entire body down. Like, honestly, as a really tired mom, they always give a woman the job. So I'm a woman, so I get a woman patting me down. They tell me what they're going to do, and they're so thorough. You guys, I have a mole. Like, she was like doing this. I'm like, oh, that's my mole. And she's like, okay. I mean, that's like how thorough. They like feel every little bump on you. And I guess they're just looking for any like devices or weapons or anything that I might be storing on my body alongside the fluids, right? So honestly, as a tired mom, having a woman pat me down, I told Jesse, I'm like, that was the massage break I needed, because they like do your whole head. It's like one of those Verudic or however you call it, like, massages. So I was like, whatever. But it turns out, so there was an angel at security, and he shared information with me that no one had shared with me at TSA before. So in the event of all this, like, our stuff's all over the place because it went down 2 aisles. The kids are being rambunctious off to the side. No one's watching them. It was crazy this time. Like, I'm getting patted down. I'm yelling at the kids to be quiet and sit down. Jesse's on the other side, I don't know, talking about his items, like, clear on the other side. And in this crazy hustle and bustle, I lost my phone. And I did end up retrieving and recovering my phone, so I won't get into all of that. But the security guard that helped me find my phone, he's like, look, you're traveling with a disability, so you can call TSA ahead of time, and you can tell them we are arriving at this time. You give them an approximate time. He's like, you need to give them an approximate arrival time. They won't just wait for you all day outside the airport. But if you say, I'm arriving around between 7 and 7:30 a.m. with my family, and my daughter has type 1 diabetes, they will meet you at the gate, or not at the gate, they will meet you at departures, and they will open a new lane for you to then go through security on your own lane with whoever you're traveling with a disability. I did not know this. No one has ever told me this. Security is always just kind of, the TSA officers have always just kind of put me through all the motions, and it's a royal pain traveling with a ton of stuff and 2 kids. So, and inevitably, every time I'm getting patted down, Raleigh has some crazy low that I'm like, I need to get her candy. I mean, it's just like chaos. So I put that TSA number in the description box. Should anybody, yeah, very cool, right? And I just can't believe, like, he was so awesome. This guy was so sweet. He was super sweet with the kids. And he's the first person. And I think it took me losing my cell phone and him seeing what a hard time I was having for him to be like, look, there are disability services, and we really do. TSA really does care. Don't abuse it. Don't expect them to just meet you whenever, like, schedule it in advance. But I'll tell you what, I did not schedule it in advance coming back from Orlando to LAX, because I'm like, Orlando's not that big of an airport. No big deal. We'll get through, no problem. I should have scheduled it, you guys. It was a nightmare. Like, the line was really long for security. Raleigh had to pee right when we got up to show our IDs. Hi, Terrence. Hello. Welcome. I'm just talking about traveling with my daughter who has type 1 diabetes and celiac disease, and just giving people a heads up in case this is helpful to anybody who is traveling or wants to know more about traveling with disabilities. So we were coming back from Orlando to LAX, and Raleigh had to pee. And if you guys know anything about type 1 diabetes, when someone with type 1 has to pee, it's actually a medical emergency. They need to flush ketones. They need to immediately get to a bathroom, or they might wet themselves or be in pain, hurt their bodies. So I have this little 5-year-old. Nobody knows that she has type 1 diabetes. It just looks like a kid that has to pee. I don't have the time to tell people everywhere, she has type 1, she has type 1. So we had to leave the line. Jesse went ahead with Declan with half of our stuff through security, and then find a bathroom. You have a disability, so you know. And Terrence, you just missed it, but I shared that TSA, for traveling through the airports in America, they have, I don't know where in the world you are, Terrence, but if you're here, there is a TSA disability number. So what I was saying is you can schedule in advance to meet TSA at the departures, and they will open a new disability lane for you so you can go through more smoothly and stress-free. So I've never scheduled in advance, so I can't speak to how efficient that service is, but I will be doing it from now on, because again, I made the mistake coming back from Orlando thinking, oh, no big deal. Orlando's not a big airport, no big deal. And sure enough, Raleigh had this emergency bathroom run. I got split up. You're in Florida. Okay, so you could use this. Or maybe you have. If you have, please comment on how efficient or if it's helpful to use this TSA service. We got split up. Jesse this time had the apple juices. He got frisked. They did the whole thing with him. I'm on the other side going through security with Raleigh, who has type 1. And you know, it was just really stressful. We didn't go through together because I had to take her aside to go to the bathroom. And I didn't, because they didn't know ahead of time about her disability, Raleigh and I had to come and wait again to go through security. And so we're divided. You know, thank God we had a lot of time, you guys. We had like hours before our flight. If you had been cutting it close, we would have missed our flight. So if you're traveling with a disability, if you already have done it, you know it can take a lot of extra time. And if you haven't done it, I do suggest trying to contact TSA ahead of time, because it would have made a world of difference, both traveling from LA to Orlando and back from Orlando to LA, if they had known about Raleigh's disabilities, opened a lane for us, and helped us to go through smoothly. Now, I don't know, Terrence, what disability, you really hate to travel. Yeah, it's really hard. And I was gonna say, you know, if you see someone with a disability or a baby or someone that's going through something where they have that extra challenge at the airport, I know you, if you don't have a disability, you might get bummed. You're like, ugh, I got stuck behind 3 wheelchairs. But to be honest with you, just be so thankful you don't travel with a disability, because you're just seeing a glimpse of their everyday life. When you live with a disability, it's not just the airport, it's day and night, you guys. So it's something that is an incredibly humbling experience. It makes you very patient. It makes you, like, I think, grow a bit as a person, because you have to cope with that adversity. So if you're someone, yeah, so Terrence he doesn't have my right leg. So only Terrence knows what it's like to not have your right leg, unless you also have that experience. So just know, if you get stuck behind someone at a theme park or at an airport that is dealing with that, just give them a lot of grace, and just be thankful that that isn't your moment to moment reality. Like when I was with Raleigh, coming back through security, I was stressed because I was separated from Jesse and Declan. We were running late. We had to stand back in line. We happened to be behind a woman who was traveling with 3 family members who were all in wheelchairs. And I could see how stressful it was for them. And even the man checking their IDs seemed incredibly impatient with them. And I just think it's a shame that they don't better train the airport employees to be empathetic to this woman traveling with, it looked like, her parents, who wanted to do everything themselves despite being in a wheelchair. They did not have a separate lane opened up for them. And it's like, you know, I was patient with them because I knew they were going through something, traveling with 3 wheelchairs, you know? So, anyways, that's my little PSA about like if you don't have a disability, just really give it a lot of breathe, be patient. Okay, bye Terrence. Thanks for coming by. If you want the TSA number, I put it in the description if you don't already have it. Anyways, so another really quick tip I have if you're traveling with type 1 in the airport and going through security, I have never been told this before, and this was just one TSA employee that told my husband. So I don't know, I haven't tested it, but this TSA employee in Orlando said if you're traveling with apple juice and the container is clear, you do not need the pat down. So they do the pat down when you have like containers that they can't see through. So apple juice boxes are not clear. Oh, hi, Zach. He says, how's your Tuesday afternoon? It is great. How is your Tuesday? Thank you for coming in and saying hi from Texas. Zach, I really appreciate it because he is always coming by and saying hi. I notice the people that really come by on a regular basis. So thank you for popping in and saying hi. I hope you're having a beautiful Tuesday yourself. I'm really happy to be live again because I've been traveling a lot, and so I haven't really been able to do my Tuesday lives, and it's good to be back. I'm not exactly back in the desert, but I'm in California, so I'm in the Central Coast today, so hello. Anyway, so I was just saying, if you travel with apple juice containers that are clear, apparently they will not have to do all of the same tests. So if you're traveling with juice boxes, or like I had the kids' water bottles, if they can't see through it, if it's not a clear container, that's when they do the testing for chemicals on your fingertips and the pat down. So I haven't tested that. The next time I travel by air, we will try to do clear containers, and fingers crossed it's a little smoother. So those are my 2 big airport tips for traveling, especially with type 1 diabetes, is call TSA ahead of time because you are traveling with needles and fluids. I also have hard drives. I mean, like all the buzzers were going off. They're like, what's this? What's that? I'm like, and then also clear containers. Give it a shot, you guys, and let me know how it goes. So, the other thing about traveling, we did a red eye, and so we had to do quite a bit of travel. We left Palm Springs midday, I think it was like 2 o'clock, and then we arrived at Walt Disney World Resort the next morning at 7 a.m. because we did do a red eye out of LAX. So what I had to do is I had to pack gluten-free food for my daughter and my family because a lot of things were closed along the way because it was nighttime for about almost 24 hours. She's a pretty light eater, so I didn't have to pack a lot. But what I did do is I made a whole big batch of gluten-free blueberry muffins that everybody in my family likes. I have very picky eaters, so it's rare that there's one item that they all like. Tuesday's going well, sick in bed, just not feeling like myself. Oh, I'm so sorry, Zach. So Zach isn't feeling well. Zach, I hope you feel better soon. Rest, hydrate, and take care of yourself. I hope you're able to really rest and feel better soon. I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I do get really paranoid. Hi, good morning, Lori Jean. Thanks for stopping by. Nikki's here. We finally made it back to Disneyland, so we'll be having Disney vlogs soon. And you'll have to tell us if you have any plans of going back. This is a completely different topic, but I am really bummed because Disneyland is so expensive for those of us that used to have passes. And I keep hoping for a new pass program, but it's looking it's not looking hopeful, you guys. So fingers crossed something magical happens with that. Nothing to do with COVID, just under the weather. Good, because I get so paranoid now that the world's opening up again. Like I'm not too afraid of getting coronavirus, but I did do air travel, and I have been going back and doing things now that things are opening in California, so you can't help but worry, right? But hopefully everyone stays super healthy. Yeah, Disneyland is our home park. I know, and I feel like I'm gonna end up just needing to make like Knott's Berry Farm my home because it just, I don't know, Nikki's been telling me some of the rumors coming out of Anaheim, and she can comment on this if she's still here, but it looks like it's gonna be like a rewards program for Disneyland, or maybe like, something like that where it's like you go however many times, and then you get a day free, which is so much more expensive than just getting a pass. If you bought a pass, even though the passes were pretty expensive, if you went to the park 3 or 4 times, I think it was like more than 3 times in a year, it paid for that pass. So for those of us that would go like once a month, or a lot of people go like once a week or whatever, even if you went 12 times, like once a month, you paid for that pass like, 4 times over. So for those of us that used to have passes, I feel like we're adding this up, and it's looking, yeah, like a perks program. It's looking not so hopeful for us that really hope to get back into the parks on a regular basis. So fingers crossed. I'm like an optimist, but anyways, yeah. So Zach, feel better, and thank you for taking the time to come by. So I was just gonna say, with the celiac and having to be gluten free, because a lot of you might be here for the gluten free stuff. I packed these blueberry, so that's gluten-free blueberry muffins. Yeah, shopping points, food points. Nikki's like, she's bummed. We're bummed because it's like, I don't really have it in my budget to pay for 10 days a year at Disneyland. That's a lot of money. And then just to get one day more. Oh, thanks, Zach. He says, I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you too, and your positive, awesome energy. Honestly, even just when like a few people come by with their like really sparkly positive energy, it makes such a difference for everyone. Yeah, and she's saying maybe there'll be some perks, like being able to get access to Phantasmic or parade. What she's talking about there is for parades and like shows, you're gonna have to schedule a viewing location. So you can't, you know how before all this happened, you could just like, oh, there's a parade, let's watch the parade, or oh, Phantasmic, let's just get to a spot where we can see Phantasmic at the end of the night. Now the talk is that you're gonna have to schedule a viewing location and or pay for that viewing location on top of the price to your park ticket. So we'll see what happens. And also, let's see, Lori Jean just commented, hoping nighttime will come back soon. It looks like she retracted it, but I think now they are, was it last Friday, Nikki? They're open till 9 p.m. And then I'm sure they'll extend into the night any day now that we're getting into the summer months. So the days will be a little bit longer. So anyways, so I did pack those muffins for my whole family, and nighttime shows will come back. That's what she's saying. Yeah, we're hopeful they'll come back, and hopefully it won't be too hard or expensive to view the nighttime shows. It's not looking great for those of us that knew how it was before all of this happened. So I'm trying to have my best attitude about it, but I'll see you at Knott's Berry Farm, because that's, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal are so affordable still, and still a lot of fun. And I love Disneyland so much, but I gotta draw the line somewhere. And fireworks. So yeah, I think there will be a lot of fireworks in California this July, but I think it will vary location to location. I know where I am in Palm Springs, they have announced that they are not doing fireworks this year, but I'm sure there are many counties and cities that will be doing fireworks, because it looks like California is going to be more fully open by like mid to late June. And I think I think this summer we don't have to wear masks. Like, I see that going away too. There's been some, I think the California mandate on masks, I think it lifts like June 19th. Anyway, so for those of you here for gluten-free, I know I'm digressing a bit, but that's just kind of the nature of these live videos. So again, I will put timestamps for all of you looking for specific information in the playback. So as far as that, so we did eat those muffins. We ate them all. It was just like a gluten-free muffin mix from Walmart that I found. So you know what you or your celiac family member or gluten-free family member needs to eat. So I suggest just packing. I had a bag full of food and low treats and apple juices, because just in case you get stranded at the airport, because sometimes, you could get furloughed. I guess, is that what it's called? Anyways, you could end up stuck in an airport for up to 48 hours. So I just plan for that just in case. And I bring that with me on the plane. And I think on the magical bus ride to from Orlando Airport to Walt Disney World Resort, we ate the last of our blueberry muffins. So it worked out just right. And then as far as eating gluten-free at the parks, you guys. So here, okay, I have a lot to talk about eating gluten-free. So we were at the Pop Century Resort, and the head chef at our dining hall, so we had one big dining hall. It was open from like 7 a.m. And then while we were there, they extended the hours to 11 p.m. The food is very basic, but good. It's kind of like your typical, kind of like if you're at camp, maybe a little better than cafeteria food. So there's not a huge menu, but this is so cool for people with celiac or allergies in general. Anything on that menu at the dining hall at the Pop Century, my daughter could order completely gluten-free, and it was safe for her to eat. So that was a really big deal. So what I thought I was gonna have to do, I thought when I arrived, I would have to order groceries and get them delivered. Well, I discovered pretty quick that was a very expensive option. The local groceries, the groceries that deliver, it's Amazon, or there was one that was like a garden grocers, something that was local, very expensive, especially if you're gluten-free. And I just assumed wrongly that the day I arrive, I could order my groceries and get them delivered that day. So I had a whole day that we were not in the parks when we arrived. When I went to order my groceries, the next delivery time, we arrived on a Tuesday, the next delivery time was that Thursday. So then we were like, uh-oh. So our next option, we were gonna Uber to a nearby Walmart, because we know that Walmart has a lot of gluten-free groceries. And that was our next plan. I was very tired. I did not sleep on the red eye. I watched Wonder Woman. Huge mistake, but kind of not, because I loved watching that movie, and I don't have that movie at home, so whatever. And but I was suffering. Like I had that, like I hadn't slept in 24 hours headache. I was kind of a little delirious. I knew I couldn't fall asleep during the day, because then it would screw with our schedule for like the next couple days. So we had to keep everyone awake until like evening. Red eyes are cool because you don't lose a day, but you also are destroyed. So it's like kind of give or take. Anyways, so we didn't end up Ubering. We didn't end up buying groceries, because I discovered really quick that the gluten-free items available for my daughter, there were plenty of items. Now, my daughter is super picky, so I think the whole time she was there, she ate like popcorn, cotton candy, and a few Mickey Mouse gluten-free waffles, but she had lots of options. She had pasta, rice, bread options, hamburger, because they do the gluten-free bun, and it's separate. They have two separate sections in the kitchen. They have the allergy section, and then they have the regular section. They are phenomenal. So how it works is when you have an allergy or a dietary restriction like my daughter, you go up to the counter when you order and you tell them you have an allergy. They go get a chef. So every time we ordered, the head chef would come out and write notes about our order. So it was incredible. And we spoke with one of the chefs. He actually has been working with the Disney company as a chef, working specifically with allergy menus for over 30 years. He used to work for the Navy. He was phenomenal. He said that, maybe he said for over 25 years, but they've had this program for a long time, working with disabilities and working with allergies. And he said every year, everybody in the kitchen has to take a test on allergies. I think there's like 35 questions. They have to get 100% to keep their jobs. So they do not mess around with allergies. They are very knowledgeable. It was so nice. It was a dream for me as a mom with a kid with celiac, because I was like, you know what? If the Disney chef can't find something for you to eat, I'm not going to find something for you to eat. So here's your options. In fact, Declan tried a hamburger for the first time on this trip because he got hungry. Raleigh, She ate those waffles. I don't know that she would have if I had been catering to all of her little dietary quirks with grocery store items. So it was kind of like a break for me. And I felt more on vacation because I knew almost everywhere I went, there were options for my kids. So that was like a huge relief. He said that people with allergies can also schedule their meals. They can schedule every meal for their entire stay before they even arrive. My friend said, yeah, or Nikki said, yes, my friend had to when he worked at Epcot. Yeah, so they really take it seriously. And everywhere you go, when we said, you know, my daughter has type 1, she has celiac, they knew what we were talking about. There was like instant understanding and care for us. So it was, I get why people with disabilities are so loyal to the Disney company. Look, it's a really expensive vacation, but when you've vacationed with these disabilities and not had all these extra services, it makes you really feel like you're on vacation, which is a huge thing. Like you can actually rest and breathe and know that you'll be provided for and cared for. So, and just on to touch upon the expenses, we did book this trip in February. I think it was like late January, early February, and there was a 30% off deal running. I don't know if it's still going. And we got the whole trip for an incredible deal. And we got our plane tickets. You guys, they were $100 round trip plane tickets. So we kind of hit the jackpot because we scheduled it when it looked like nothing was going to open up. So we were even like, is it safe? Should we fly? But we were like, okay, well, we're scheduling it for May. And then of course, Disneyland opened right at the same time. So I was going crazy as someone that had been waiting to go back to Disneyland. I'm like, of course, I'm spent all this energy on Walt Disney World and then Disneyland opens, but that's life. It's not the end of the world. You know, turns out I don't know how many times I'll go to Disneyland this year anyway, because I don't think the annual pass program's coming back. So, such is life. Anyways, another thing I wanted to say, when you're in the parks, so at the Pop Century Resort, we were very well cared for as far as the gluten-free. They have hotel deals until end of September right now. So yeah, I think if you go onto the Walt Disney World site, I think she's right. I think I did hear that there are still 30% off deals. Ours included 30% off of our park tickets. So I don't know what the deals are right now. It was just kind of like 30% off the entire thing. And I did book through AAA because it was no additional cost, and we still were able to do that deal. So sometimes AAA has better deals, but right now the best deal is the one that Walt Disney World Resort is offering. So I'm sure they're running those deals through September because I think come October they're going to start to do the anniversary celebration and, you know, Halloween. So a lot of people are probably planning for October. So if you want to take advantage of that, go for it. It's hot. We drank more tap water than I think I've ever had in my life. Like we would do an attraction and then find somewhere that there was tap water. So water is really expensive if you're buying bottled water. We just went to restaurants that had fountain drinks, and if you ask for waters, they'll gladly give you ice water. So we just kind of did that. So stay hydrated because it is really hot, you guys. In fact, I watched the playback of some of our vlogs and I'm like, it doesn't really look as hot as it was. I mean, it was just like you're melting, but it was a lot of fun. And if you stay hydrated and you pace yourself, you'll do it. So I wanted to say at the Pop Century, it was a dream as far as gluten-free. Now, the food, you know, we ate a lot of the same dishes. Like Jesse ate a lot of the pasta. There was like a chicken pasta dish that was really good. He ate that several times. The kids had the gluten-free Mickey waffles, which were amazing. I ate those with them every morning because inevitably they didn't finish them. So we did a lot of the same things, but at least there was always food available that was gluten-free at the hotel. Now, when you're out in the parks, it can be a little more limited. So you do want to plan your day a little bit if, you know, you don't want to end up hungry and stranded somewhere. So I have to tell you, when you're in the parks, if it's a kiosk or like kind of one of those small buildings that's like, say, a Waffle House or something that's not a Disney resort restaurant, they don't necessarily have gluten-free items. So where you're gonna find the gluten-free items is every restaurant establishment has to have gluten-free items available on the menu, or any other allergy you may have, nut-free, dairy-free. Every restaurant needs to. Now, some restaurants are much more allergy friendly than others. Like we went to the Coral Reef at Epcot, it was a lot of fish and rice, and it was very allergy friendly. And then when we went to, it was the Sen and Hell Inn, and it was really cool because it's kind of like their blue bio. You know, it was like right up against a riverboat ride indoors to made to look outdoors in this like Mexican courtyard, beautiful. But it ironically, Mexican food really could be gluten-free because it could be like rice and beans and meat, but their menu was not as allergy friendly. They did have some items, but not much. No gluten-free bread rolls. Their chips were not gluten-free, surprisingly, because it seems like tortilla chips could be gluten-free. So that restaurant, I don't know if it's just an older restaurant. It just wasn't as allergy friendly. Just a note that not all restaurants are the same. And then before I move on from the gluten-free at Walt Disney World, I have to give you guys a heads up for anybody here with celiac or who finds this in the playback. Disney has a new line of gluten-free snacks. And if you know why I'm saying gluten-free with big old quotation marks, it's because if you read the fine print, their new gluten-free products, which is incredible that Disney would have this kind of oversight after all the work they've done on allergies. These gluten-free products were processed in a facility that processes wheat. So they are not safe for celiac. And actually, you know who caught this was my son Declan. He is 8, you guys, and he is such a warrior for my daughter. So there was this, we were at the Polynesian because we love the Polynesian. It's under construction, and it's honestly out of our price range. It's quite expensive. It's one of the original resorts. It's beautiful. If you go to a value resort, you can go and take a boat and visit for the day. I highly recommend that. Don't schedule park days every day. There's so much to see. We went to the Polynesian for one of our days, and it was amazing. They had a lot of allergy-friendly items on there. At the Kona Cafe is open. And we were shopping at the shop, which is our favorite shop because it's all tiki and island and tropical, and it was like hard not to buy everything in the store. We may have bought matching Hawaiian, like Polynesian print outfits for the entire family that we did wear to Epcot. So that's all coming in the pipeline. It's totally nerdy, and so it was like such a dream. Anyways, so we're shopping, and the woman, you said it's cool but overhyped. Honestly, for us, the Polynesian's not overhyped because that's just like how much we love it. But I could see for other people how they might feel that way considering the price and everything. Like, again, I don't know that we'll ever go because it is quite expensive, but even just visiting for the day was like, you felt like you were going to like the French Polynesia or something. I mean, they have a beach, and anyways, we loved it. So, because we're nerds for all things tiki and tropical, and you know, Jesse and we went on our honeymoon in Tahiti. So I think it kind of started way back, and we've just kind of, our love for the island kind of escape has evolved over the years, and we're just total nerds for it. But anyways, that's us. So so we're shopping in this store that we wanted to buy like everything in the store. We may have bought a few things. Anyways, and the woman working at the store, oh, your friend gets a discount. Nice. The woman working at the store was so lovely, and she wanted to give the kids a treat, but she knew that Raleigh had celiac. So she went up to their gift store that had these new gluten-free products, and she brought them down. And she was about to give it to Raleigh, and Declan's like, okay, my daughter or my sister has celiac disease. I need to check the label. So I'm off shopping with Jessie. I don't even know this is happening. Declan checks the label because she's like, no, it's gluten-free. She can have it. He's like, no. And he looks down on the label. He's like, right here, it says it's processed in a facility that processes wheat. And she was just like, oh my goodness. I am so glad that you told me. And she was so impressed with him and how he knew. She was so lovely, you guys. She was so sweet. And she's like, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I almost gave this to your daughter. So these are new products at Walt Disney World and probably at Disneyland. They are not gluten-free, you guys. They say gluten-free, and if you have a gluten sensitivity or allergy, it's probably safe for you. But if you have celiac, it's a no-go. So that would be like my one big critique of our gluten-free experience at Walt Disney World, that they would produce this whole line of gluten-free products, which looked delicious, and them not be completely gluten-free. It's just like, anyways. So that was my only big thing, is like, Disney, you need to go back to the drawing board. You need to make this actually gluten-free, because when we went back to our restaurant, to the Pop Century, to our dining hall that one of the nights, and we went in there, it was like 10:30. We're schlepping in. We haven't had dinner because we would just go on rides instead of eat, because that's how we are, because we're crazy like that. We schlep in at 10:30. We say, our daughter has celiac, and the woman working there is like, you're the 40th person today to tell me they have celiac. So that just tells you that a lot of people with celiac, with type 1, with all these different disabilities, do go to Walt Disney World or these Disney vacations, because it really is worth it. Because otherwise, when I travel, like we're going to Hawaii later this fall, I'm going to have to go to the grocery stores and figure it all out. We're going to have a rental car, so I'll be able to do it. But I won't necessarily be able to go to restaurants and find something for my daughter. The whole restaurant could be contaminated with gluten. So it really does make a difference when you have a disability to be traveling this way. So, and clearly we were not the only ones. For 40 people to come in one evening and tell her we have celiac, and the chef comes out to every person with an allergy restriction. So imagine that, you guys. They take the time to come out, talk to you, get what you need, write it down. They would put her food on a separate tray at a separate station. So Nikki brought up a really good point. She said mobile ordering, was it, could you find the gluten-free food? So like on one of the last days that we were there, they did add gluten-free ordering to the mobile ordering, but when we were there, it was still a little glitchy and they were still working out the kinks. So so this was early May, they had just added a feature to the mobile ordering app where you can put on there, like I would always put gluten-free. I would also always put celebrating a birthday, because it was my birthday week and nobody ever came about the birthday. So I don't know, like I think the cast members are still adjusting to using that mobile app, but they are trying to put everything on the mobile app. So I'm hopeful it will get smoother, and then hopefully you guys are okay with using mobile ordering, because I know there's people out there that don't use a smartphone. So I think what they do, if you don't have a smartphone, I think they loan you a smartphone, and then unlike maybe what they tell you, you still can do all the traditional things. Like we could still go to the concierge and talk to a person at our hotel. We still had key cards for the room, not just the app. We didn't use the magic bands and it was fine, but I did use my app a lot. And Jesse did get frustrated because he likes to see a physical menu. A lot of the restaurants still had physical menus. The parks still have maps. They're just a little harder to find, but they do have them. So there are still things you can do that are traditional types of things, but you're largely dependent on that app. So what I highly suggest as far as tickets to the parks, reservations, dining reservations, and hotel check-in information, take a snapshot on your phone, and I put everything in a folder marked tickets. So I have a whole folder on my phone just for screenshots of QR codes, because it just, now that I'm adjusting to everything being on the phone, like I've showed up to Knott's Berry Farm and our QR codes are just disappeared off the app. So then I just pull it up on my phone and they can still scan it. So I just highly, if you haven't already started doing that, just screenshot all the important stuff. Like Nikki and I are always joking that we've screenshotted our Disneyland tickets like 4 times each ticket because you just get paranoid. Like when I lost my phone at the airport, I wasn't just losing my phone, I was losing all of our check-in information, all of our park information, like our park tickets and reservations, our dining reservations, like our magical bus reservation to the resort, like everything was in my phone, you know? So it's like, it's a little scary to have everything in one device, but that's just kind of the nature of things now. Really quick for everyone here that's looking for type 1 tips. So there's 2 things I didn't have to pack that are kind of large and cumbersome to pack. One, I packed a toaster for my daughter because I usually toast bread for her, gluten-free bread in the room because she can't use a toaster that's had gluten bread in it. So I always pack a toaster. Walt Disney World was the first place that I've traveled since she was diagnosed with celiac 2 years ago. I didn't need the toaster. So you don't need to bring as much of those things if you have an allergy because I could take her down to the dining hall and get her gluten-free food. So I didn't need to prepare food in the room for her. If you want to, you should still bring that toaster. You know, they're not going to provide a gluten-free toaster for you, but a toaster, her toaster, it's not that big, but it's hard and it takes up some serious, Nikki's laughing, it takes up some serious real estate in that tiny carry-on suitcase that we were packing. So that I could have left at home and I would have left it there, but like it's her, like this toaster we got when she was diagnosed, it's like this little pink, looks like a little pig, it's like a little pink toaster. It took us 6 weeks to special order this pink toaster. We called it the Barbie toaster. So I couldn't just leave it there because it was so hard to acquire this particular toaster for her. So otherwise I would have just left it there, but I did bring it back with me, but I didn't need it. And the second thing that I didn't need is usually I carry a needle drop. So if you guys have type 1, you have to dispose of your needles safely. So that means you put them in a plastic container with a lid and you travel back home and you take it to a needle dispenser location, like somewhere where they take your needles and they dispense of them safely. So that's something you have to do if you have type 1 diabetes. Walt Disney World, I'm getting chills, Walt Disney World Resort, they will provide an official needle drop container for your room. So they delivered it to our room the day we arrived. I deposited all of her used needles and closed it and left it in the room. I didn't have to travel with dirty needles. That's kind of a big deal. They also have needle drops at all of the theme parks in the bathrooms. Now, I don't know what's going on, you guys. I think it's because of, you know, coronavirus and everything that's been happening, but I have seen a lot of theme park needle drops that are full. So hopefully as the reopening, they work out all the kinks, hopefully they start emptying those needle drops more regularly. So just know that I just carry her needles in her bag until I can dump them. But there are needle drops in the bathrooms and they will provide your own needle drop box for your room. So that was great. And so I didn't need to bring like a container with a lid, which that also takes up space because it's hard. So it's not just like something you can smush. And then of course, yes, we brought a lot of ears and I was super nervous about them getting destroyed, but thankfully they traveled safely. So that's good. Okay, so I'm trying to think what else I wanted to share with you guys. Oh, this is for parents. For all my parents out there, we didn't travel with a stroller, and Raleigh being 5 and having type 1, so when she's low, we don't want her walking a lot. Yeah, Disneyland has them too. Yeah, so Disneyland definitely has needle drops in the front bathroom. So like when you walk into DCA or you walk into Disneyland, that first set of bathrooms like on Main Street and right at the beginning of DCA, those bathrooms definitely have needle drops. I don't know if all of the bathrooms have needle drops, but I'm sure if you have type 1, you start to familiarize yourself with where the needle drops are. But like for me, that was a new type 1 parent, all of this was new to me. Like I'm learning still. So yeah, it is really cool that they have those needle drops. There's needle drops definitely at Knott's Berry Farm. I've seen needle drops. I'm trying to think if I saw them at Universal. I can't remember, but a lot of places now I'm really noticing do have those needle drops. Airports, I think, do have bathrooms with needle drops. So that's great because you don't want to be carrying a bunch of needles. And for the public safety, the public can know that needles are being disposed of properly and safely. So that's good. Um, I need to wrap it up because I'm going longer than I said I would. My mom, I don't know if she's watching still, but she's watching the kids back at her house, so I'm sure they're getting ready for lunch. So I am going to wrap it up soon. Thanks you guys for everyone that hung in here. I know not all of you are here for the type 1 and gluten-free content, so I appreciate your support. And I do hope this finds people that it's helpful for anyone out there that's like, curious or traveling, or maybe just needs to know a little bit more about it. If you have any questions for me about any of this stuff, just put it in the comments. If this video was helpful, put it in the comments because I'm always wondering how much time to spend on this kind of topic because it seems like it's really helpful to a few people out there. And so if it is, I will keep doing it. But if it's kind of just going into the void, I'm going to make videos that like more people are relating to and connecting with. So just please comment if you want to see more of this kind of topic, traveling with type 1, diabetes, more awareness about celiac, and being gluten-free, etc. So yeah, definitely take a moment to comment so I kind of can gauge how to. My mom says all good here. Okay, good. So I'll just take a few more moments to wrap it up. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Okay, just a few things for everybody else, and I will put timestamps, so feel free to just jump to this stuff, you guys. Strollers. So this is for parents. We did not travel with a stroller. I'm actually glad we didn't travel with a stroller because, again, our kids are 5 and 8. Now, Raleigh had a lot of lows. We went through a lot of apple juices, a lot of candies because, my mom's saying educational. Okay, cool. So I'm glad it's helping at least one Gaga out there who has a granddaughter with type 1 and celiac. So thanks, Mom. So she was going low a lot because for her as a 5-year-old, this was way more walking than she was used to. Oh, thanks, Nikki. She said very educational. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, ladies. So she was walking a lot more. So we did always need apple juices. We always needed candy. And she was very happy about that. And we kept her safe and we kept her hydrated. Because again, in the heat, you got to really stay hydrated with type 1. So lots of water drinking. Now, that being said, there were days that her feet were really tired. So what we did do is we did rent a stroller when we were at the parks. So when the first day we were at Magic Kingdom, we didn't rent a stroller and it was a really long day and Jesse hurt his back carrying Raleigh and even Declan would get tired. He's 8, but they just weren't accustomed to all, we would just go and go and go. So we did have cranky, tired kids. So the second day in the parks, we went to Epcot and we did a 2-day stroller rental because the more days you pay for at a time, the cheaper. So a 2-day stroller rental is $12 a day. So it's not that bad. And what was nice about it, they're kind of clunky, but it worked. And mom pro tip, pack a carabiner because they will not provide one for you. Maybe they rent them out. There was another stroller company that rents, I think, a 3-day minimum, like like one of those baby jogger strollers, mini, I'm blanking on it now, but a city mini. So that's what we used to have. So you could rent that for 3 or more days. You do have to schedule it at least a day in advance. And they rent out those carabiners for $5 per carabiner, I think. So I just kind of knew as a mom, I'm like, if I need one stroller item, it is the carabiner. Because if I'm going, and if you don't know what a carabiner is, it's like a big hook traditionally for rock climbing, I think, and it clips onto the stroller handlebar, and then that way you can put, your backpack, your bags, your food bags. You can load the stroller down, so when you're on rides, you don't have to be carrying all this stuff. I wouldn't put valuables on the stroller, but most stuff was safe. Like there's a little pocket on their stroller for like ears. There was a drink hold. I think there were 2 drink holders actually, which we did use for those waters, and there's just water spilling everywhere, but whatever. And So we rented the stroller, $12 a day. And what's great about this is we were taking the Skyliner many times, I think to Epcot and to Hollywood Studios. You take the Skyliner. It would be more of a hassle, or a bus to Magic Kingdom and to Animal Kingdom. So if you're traveling with a stroller, you're having to bring that stroller from your hotel room, down the steps, down the elevator. You have to store it in your tiny hotel room. You have to collapse it, bring it on the bus. If you're a mom or a dad, you know the routine, okay? So this way, the kids are old enough, they're not babies, they can get to the park. We would go straight to the stroller rental. We never waited in a line. It was super fast. Get that stroller for a day, and they have an ability to trade off and rest their feet, etc., because it was really hot. Now, the bummer about that was at the very end of the day, when it's like 11 o'clock at night, we're stuck in an hour-long line waiting for the Skyliner to get back to our resort. We had to check that stroller in, and the kids just had to hoof it home when they're super tired. And we traded off sitting with them while one person waits in line for the Skyliner, or, they're sleeping on us in the bus, whatever. You know how it is. You're carrying these giant kids because they're just floored. So you only have it while you're in the parks, but I just recommend it because I didn't have to travel through an airport with it and check it on the plane. So we were just lighter weight. So if you don't have, I would say if your kids are 4 and up, you might want to consider doing that. So, and it worked fine. They're a little clunky, but it honestly, it worked fine. They're pretty sturdy. They're definitely can handle a small child because they're just these plastic, sturdy, kind of whatever, rickety strollers, but they can carry quite a bit of weight. They're not comfortable. So if you want to bring a little seat insert, they're very uncomfortable. They're just hard plastic, but the kids managed because it gave them a break from walking. So that's my stroller spiel. And then really quick, it's near impossible to get to the parks when they open if you're staying at the resorts. I would allow an hour and 15 minutes before the park opens. So if the park you want to go to is open at 9, you want to line up at 7:30, 7:45 for whatever transportation they're providing to that park. So if it's the bus, you're going to stand in that bus line for an hour and wait for that bus to start running to try to be the first people on it. If it's the Skyliner, you're going to wait in a line before it, because they don't open those modes of transportation until about 45 minutes, an hour before the park opens. So it's kind of near impossible to get there right when the park's open. If you're willing to go out to whatever location you're getting your transportation from an hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes before, you will get there when the park opens or close to, because of security and everything. We never really got to the parks right when they opened, but I would say within a half hour to an hour of the park opening. So it wasn't the end of the world. And hopefully they extend their hours. I'm sure they already have, because it was a pretty quick day. But I have to say, when you're doing it every day, you probably need the rest anyway. So it was probably good for us that the days weren't too long, because we will go until they kick us out. So sleep is good too. And we did sleep very well at the Pop Century. So I was very happy with the room and how comfortable I was. And you're so exhausted, you sleep a little better too. And then just really quick, when the parks close, just be really patient. So if you're the type of person that doesn't want to wait forever to get back to your resort, I highly suggest leaving the parks before they close. Because inevitably, when they close, you're going to be waiting in a really long line to get back to your hotel, whether it's the bus line or the Skyliner line, and everyone's going to be cranky and tired, and in our case, hungry, because we kept forgetting to do dinner because we were like, one more ride, Fortunately, the Pop Century, the food was open every night. They open a little later. They stay open a little later, so you get a chance to get some food if you have to, if you don't have any other dining options. There were vending machines also in the hotel, but I think they didn't work great. So it's kind of hit and miss, and everything's expensive. Like for a Gatorade, it's like $4, or $5. I can't remember. We didn't do it. We're like, we'll buy you Gatorade when we get home. It's $1, So I think we bought them one at Epcot one day. So the Skyliner broke down one night. That was a fiasco. If security tells you the Skyliner is not running, for the one person here that this is going to happen to that's watching this, go back and go take a bus. Because what happened is the Skyliner broke down, and then there's just like an inordinate amount of people going to a nearby resort, and they did bring as many buses. Nikki wants to, she's asking about Disney Springs. They did bring some buses through, but we were waiting at the boardwalk, which is near Epcot, for over an hour. Things were closing, things were closing. Raleigh was low. I didn't have that much sugar. Jessie ran back and got a smoothie right when one of the little stands at the boardwalk was closing. So we took care of her, but it was a little scary. We were in a really long line waiting for them to reroute buses to all of the resorts that the Skyliner goes to. So in retrospect, if you hear that Skyliner's broken down, don't assume that wherever they're rerouting you to will be able to handle that traffic. We should have walked back through Epcot and taken a bus at the bus station in front of the park, because those buses are more used to the traffic flow coming out of the park at the end of the day. So we weren't really thinking. We're like, oh, it's equidistant to walk to the boardwalk. We'll get the buses there. And they were completely overloaded. It was just one of those things. I don't know how often the Skyliner breaks down. It happens. It just happened. And it was kind of a fiasco, but we got through it and finally got back to our room and everything was fine. So it wasn't like the end of the world, but it's hard when you've got two little kids and you don't have a stroller and maybe you have a disability. And speaking of disabilities, when you're inside the park, you can go to City Hall and you just tell them, my daughter has type 1 diabetes. If she's waiting in a line and she needs to pee suddenly, we have to take her to the bathroom to flush her ketones. And they're just like, okay. They registered her in their, I think it's called the Disability Access Services, DAS for short. And then it is on her profile in the app and her whole parties. So you go, when you're waiting in any line, you go to the standby, you get a return time with her disability card, and then you return to the line at that point and you go through the standby line. So if you have a disability that prohibits you from waiting in long lines comfortably, you're able to do that. So that you only need to do one time, and I think it's good for 90 days for that particular Disney location. So it was good at all the Walt Disney World parks for 90 days. And then when we take her back to Disneyland, we'll have to go and register her with the service again. And I honestly don't know what the service is like at Disneyland right now with the way the lines are different. So Nikki, I don't know if you saw if there was a standby line. I really don't know how they're dealing with disabilities at Disneyland because I haven't been back with Raleigh. But when I find out, I'll let you guys know. And so that's something new that we didn't know about. In fact, it was just another parent watching us scramble with Raleigh at the Peter Pan line, which was really, really long. And he's like, hey, I have a son with a disability. You guys can go to City Hall and you can do this. So we didn't know about this except another parent told us. So sometimes you might have these disabilities and maybe it's new and you're newly diagnosed. But just for anyone out there that didn't know about that, I highly recommend taking the time to do that because it made her time much more enjoyable because inevitably, also, if you have a kiddo that has to pee and you're mid-line, the cast members are so great. They'll let you out of the line and they will let you back into the line where you were at. People are so great, especially at Walt Disney World. They were so great with kids. Like everywhere we went, if we ordered a mandarin for Raleigh, they would give us 5 because they knew she was having challenges finding food. So, you know, if I got an applesauce packet, next thing I know, there's 3 on my tray. They were very generous with the kids and just keeping them fed and keeping them hydrated and keeping them happy. Their child services there and like family friendly services, in addition to the disability, is off the charts. Like Raleigh has a tendency to kind of throw these fits if she's not getting her way. You know, she's 5. And there was one time where she kind of like threw herself on the ground and we kind of called her bluff and walked, you know, however many paces in front of her. I knew where she was, but to an outside observer, you just see this little girl on the ground, and literally within like 30 seconds of her being by herself, a cast member, like a mysterious cast member, this woman came out of nowhere, got down on one knee, and started engaging with her to help her connect with her family. Like, they're phenomenal. Like, when it comes to kids, they're really on top of it at Walt Disney World. So I felt very safe. I felt like the kids were very safe. So just a little bit about that, because that really struck me. When I look back and I saw that woman going up to her, I was like, wow, they are just on it. If they see a kid alone, I think that happened a few times because I'm kind of like, you know, catch up to me or whatever, or I'm filming. And I was very impressed with how they handle like security when it comes to children and families. So that was really, really impressive. And let's see, Nikki had a couple comments. I think it's like the Fast Pass. So they are doing it at Disneyland too. I just haven't done it yet. And it's the same thing. You go to the Fast Pass part of the line. They give you a return time. It's in your app, and it's in your app for your entire party. And then you go back. You need to go back with the person that has the registered disability. They scan their ticket first, and then the party that's registered with them scans after them. So that's how it works. You know, it was really pretty easy and very helpful. You still have to wait, and you can only register one ride at a time, but this way you don't have to wait in the physical line, which would, you know, because of your disability, might be more difficult for you. So say it's a 45-minute line, they would register you to return a half hour later. Oh, so it's not in the app at Disneyland yet. So it was in the app at Disney World, and it sounds like at Disneyland it might still be maybe a physical ticket or some other way that they register you, but it's not incorporated into the app. And just to tell you guys, Disney World and Disneyland, totally separate apps and totally separate experiences. So don't assume if you're coming from Disney World, oh, I got this. Load that Disneyland app and get yourself familiar with it. Know that it'll be different. Know that it's newer. It might be more glitchy, etc. So, okay, I think I'm almost done. Nikki did ask about Disney Springs. We went to Disney Springs. Disney Springs is phenomenal. We could have spent several days at Disney Springs, but the way that it worked out with our trip, we were only there for like one evening. We loved it. Yeah, okay, so it's at City Hall. So it's the same thing at Disneyland as it is at Walt Disney World. So that's good to know. And that's right when you get into the park, I believe. It was on the left at the Magic Kingdom. We did it at the Magic Kingdom. I imagine at Walt Disney World, you could do it at any of the parks, but we did it the first day we were at the Magic Kingdom. And it's on the left, it's City Hall. And I assume it's the same for Disneyland, but I haven't done it yet. So, so Disney Springs was phenomenal. We went to the Hangar Bar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It is so cool. It's, I'm blanking on the name of the character, but it's based off of a character from Indiana Jones. And it's like, it's his bar, and there's all this like flight paraphernalia and old movie paraphernalia. And like one of the restaurant booths is actually like inside of like, it looks like you're inside of a jet, I think, or a submarine, and it's really cool. And we sat out on the patio. They even have this cool like boat that kind of looks like one of the Jungle Cruise boats where they have some seating, but that was closed while we were there. And we got some drinks. The drinks are super stiff, so it might have been more alcohol than I should have had on my first day with no sleep, but I survived. And they have this really cool car, Morphic. I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of those cars that drives on land, and then it becomes a boat in the water. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. It's pretty rare. There's a few of them out there. If you've seen it, it's so crazy to watch. We wanted to do this, so we really wanted to go back. I think you can only fit 3 people per car, but Raleigh was small enough where she could have sat on one of our laps. So we really wanted to do it while the kids were small, but we didn't get a chance to go back. That was something Jesse really wanted to do. I think it was about $120 per ride, but it's so cool because it's like you're in this car, you drive, it's a convertible car that becomes a boat. Like think like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, right? It was like that, but in real life. And then you're in this car, that's this convertible car that's in the water functioning like a boat. It was so cool. So I have some video of people doing that. Hopefully someday I can share that with you because again, I have like hours of stuff to go through. I'm a little overwhelmed. But anyways, that was really cool. Disney Springs was amazing. Tons of shopping. Like if you think we have shopping here, like we don't hold a candle. Like in Florida, I think they have a little more disposable income. Like people were shopping. Like at downtown Disney, people really like go right to World of Disney. There's a lot of people that are into collecting, but a lot of the other stores at downtown Disney are kind of empty and neglected. This shopping mall was bustling. All of the stores, there were like lines to get in. They had a Marvel store. I mean, so much stuff that I was salivating. I wanted to shop so bad, but we just went one evening and we didn't. I think I got a little bit of video footage of the Starbucks, which was also really cool. And so yeah, barely scratched the surface, but Disney Springs, it's huge, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's on the water, it's very picturesque. So that was a very cool experience, and you can get to it from anywhere. Yeah, it's way bigger. I mean, it's like you're on a planet, you guys. It's insane how big this resort is. They have so much room. It really is just phenomenal, and it's a little overwhelming, but I knew going into it that it was going to be that way. So you know, we just enjoyed what we could and tried not to. If you try to do everything, you'll be disappointed. So if you had like every day, I would ask my entire family, "What's like the one thing you have to do today?" And we would do that first, so everyone was happy. Because the worst feeling in the world is to leave a park that you know you're not coming back to, and be like, "I'm not gonna get to do that." And the 2 things that I really didn't get to do that I really wanted to go to Oga's Cantina at Hollywood Studios at Galaxy's Edge, but I just didn't make the reservation. And I really wanted to do Rise of the Resistance, but I did not get a boarding time. You get 2 tries a day and that's it. It wasn't that heartbreaking because I knew I could do those things back in California. Now, if I were going home and I didn't have those at my home park, I would be so bummed. But fortunately, everything that we wanted to do there at Walt Disney World, like the biggest bucket list things, we all got to do except the amorphic or whatever car, the car that swims. Jesse really wanted to do that and he did not get to do that. So we went to the Polynesian and just didn't make it back over to Disney Springs. It can take up to an hour and 15 minutes to get from one point to any other point on the resort, just to give you an idea. But you can get to Disney Springs from almost any resort. They have buses that go from every resort to Disney Springs. Just be aware, the last bus will leave an hour after the parks close. So they will stop running buses once everyone's back to their resorts, so you don't want to get stuck in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. So just be aware of those bus and Skyliner schedules, because I mean, you could call a cab, I guess, but you don't want to because that's an extra charge. Just be aware that transportation does end. It doesn't go 24/7, so at least not now anyways, when we were there. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about, and then some. So thank you, Nikki, and everybody that asked questions, because that helped me like, oh yeah, and then there's this other thing I want to share with you guys. Thursday at 9 a.m. I will be hopefully watching the premiere with you guys of our first day at Epcot. I'm slowly working my way through that footage now, so wish me luck that I get it out for you guys and we can watch and chat about it. I'm really excited to share more of our Walt Disney World trip with you guys. And then, of course, next Tuesday at 11, I will be live. So if you have any other questions or if you want to come by and say hi, feel free. Thanks again for everyone that watched this and everyone watching the playback. If you like this, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys soon in Super Cali Land. Bye.